Today, 5 players announced that they are entering the transfer portal and leaving Auburn. And this comes on the heels of the announcement that Mike Bobo is out as offensive coordinator. So there's been a lot of activity today. On top of that, we've had some other players announce that they are either staying at Auburn to go ahead and dispel any rumors that may be out there. And we also had a few recruits confirm that they are still committed to the university because they did not commit to the coaches. On top of that, we had some information come out about players entering the draft. And then there's one big rumor that's been out there, and I want to give you my thoughts and opinion on that. So first, let's talk about these 5 players that are entering the transfer portal. I'm not going to say too much about these guys. There's one I want to talk about for a little bit longer. The others I'm just going to mention. So the players that are entering the transfer portal and leaving are on the defensive side of the ball, we got Ladarius Tennyson, Caleb Johnson, and Tayshawn Manning. On the offensive side of the ball, we've got Elijah Kenyon, who was, in my opinion, a promising wide receiver, and he just really did not get enough play time. We didn't get to see him enough, and probably from his point of view, he didn't get enough targets or play time, and so he's got to go somewhere else, look out for himself so that he can show what he can do, and eventually the goal of every player, for the most part, is to get to the NFL. But he knows that if he's not getting the play time, he's not going to get that chance, and he didn't really get it this year at Auburn. And then finally, we've got running back Shaun Shivers. This announcement was not too surprising. And the reason I say that is because this year it became clear to Shaun when Tank Bigsby is number 1, and he was the number 2 guy going into this season. But shortly into the season, it became clear that Jarquez Hunter was the number 2 guy. And it became definitely clear when, for his senior season in the Iron Bowl, he didn't even get to play. So I can't blame Shaun Shivers or any of these guys for the decision they're making. They have to look out for their best interest because they're trying to make a career out of this. They want to play football. I think most or all of them want to eventually make it to the NFL. So they've got to go where they're going to get some play time. So I have no ill feelings towards any of these guys, and I wish all of them the best wherever they end up. Next, we had a player that seems to be in the news constantly lately, and that is Demetrius Davis. His name came up again because with Mike Bobo leaving, rumors started circulating that he is going to leave. And so he quickly hopped on social media, on Instagram, and told people that he is committed to the university and not to the coaches. So guys, let's leave Davis alone. I know everybody's worried about him leaving. I was worried with that last cycle of rumors that happened, but let's cut it out. He's staying at Auburn. He's committed to Auburn. So let's give him a chance because he's told us multiple times he's not going anywhere. Next, we had 2 recruits make it clear that they are still committed to Auburn. Kind of the same thing that Davis said. Holden Gariner and Damari Alston. They both made it clear that they are committed to the university. And these guys, if you don't know, Holden is quarterback, and he and Damari have really been like the player recruiters for Auburn. They've been all over Twitter. They're recruiting guys left and right and trying to talk them into coming to Auburn. And they're 2 of my favorite people to keep up with on Auburn Twitter. So if you do not follow them already, give them a follow because they are entertaining and they are constantly going after players to get them over to Auburn. Great guys, and I'm looking forward to having them on the Plains. Next, we know that Roger McCreary is going to the NFL draft, as well as Zacoby McClain, 2 fantastic guys. And I will say that Roger McCreary, he just shot his draft stock through the roof with his performance during the Iron Bowl. So I expect him to go high, round 2 or possibly even round 1, because he was phenomenal. And I know NFL teams and scouts saw that game and they liked what they saw. So I imagine he is going to go pretty high in the draft. And finally, I've got to address the elephant in the room, and that is what Bo Nix said on Jim Dunaway's show. On on Monday, Bo Nix was asked about transferring. I can't remember how Jim Dunaway asked the question exactly, but the words that Bo Nix said left a lot of speculation out there. He didn't really answer the question, and really his non-answer said more than if he was straightforward. And here's what I mean by that. When he was asked about his plans for next year, he said he is exploring all options. If you're exploring all options, that leaves everything on the table. He could be looking at the draft. He could be looking at returning to Auburn. He could be looking at transferring to another school to play. And here's my thoughts on that. I don't think he's going to be going to the draft because his draft stock is not very high, and he was injured for the end of the season. So there's no way he's going to declare for the draft. I would be shocked. This is the least likely option, in my opinion. He had a lot more he could have shown. He was improving, but he's not going to declare for the draft. He's not being talked about as being drafted in the first or second round or anything like that. So that option's off the table, in my opinion. So now it brings these other two options into play. And I guess there's a third option. He could stop playing football, but that's not going to happen. So the other two options we've got, he's going to stay at Auburn, return for another season, or he's going to transfer to another school. I feel like the most likely option is he's going to stay at Auburn for another season. But if that was the case, why would he not just say, yeah, I'm planning on returning to Auburn for the 2022 season? That simple. Instead, he left it vague. And I have to think he's thinking about Malik Willis, and he's looking at the fact that he took the starting job, or he got the starting job over Malik Willis at Auburn. But then which of the two of them is being talked about as far as being drafted in the NFL? It's not Bo. So Bo has to be looking at that and thinking to himself, I could transfer to a smaller school where it's not as competitive. It's not the SEC West, and I'm not going to be criticized as harshly. And I can put up these just crazy numbers as far as stats go, and I can send my stock through the roof too. And that has to be going through his head. So I don't know what he's going to choose, but with that vague answer, I have to feel that he is really considering not being at Auburn next year. I can't say anything definitive. I'm not Bo, and only he knows what he's going to do. But I have a feeling he's looking at an option that does not involve Auburn University. Those are all the updates I have for now. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.